Greetings everyone. I want to give you a little bit of an acting, or actually Act CRM history lesson. So Act has been around as software for 35 years. And when you used Act software 35 years ago, it was software that you physically installed on your computer. And as we know, through time, there's a lot of CRM products available to you, but the vast majority of those CRM products are in the cloud or on the web. You access the data through a web browser. Act has for years and years and years been used primarily as physically downloaded and installed desktop software. That's what we're looking at right here. In the first video, I worked with Act that is physically installed on one of the computers in my office. Having stated that, Act now in 2023 has a tool called Act Premium Cloud. It is Act in the cloud. So you do not physically install software on your computer. You simply go to a web browser, log in, and you can work with your Act data that way. During this training, I might jump back and forth a little bit. What I'm going to show you right now is this database in the cloud. But when I ended the last video, I cleaned this up a little bit. I shrunk in the bar at the left-hand side. The area down below, I shrunk it down to the bottom. So when I bring Act in the cloud up, it's going to look like Act looked like when I first started working with it in the desktop version. So just to illustrate how I can make it look closer to what you're working with in the desktop version, I'm going to shrink this in to the left, the blue bar. I'm also going to take this bottom part and drag it all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so now this looks a little closer to this where we left off. Couple advantages of working in the cloud. First, you'll notice that the look of this is slightly different, where these corners are rounded off. It's a very subtle difference, but it's a minor difference. Next, we have different tabs open in a web browser. If I want to eliminate those tabs or just not see them, on my keyboard I can press the F11 key, Frank 11, and they disappear. In addition to that, when I'm working in a web browser, and just so you know, right now I'm working in Microsoft Edge. Edge is what I recommend. In order of which browsers that can be used that I recommend, Edge is number 1, Google Chrome is number 2, and Firefox is number 3. You'll notice subtle differences in the things you can do depending on the browser you're working with. I like Edge for a bunch of reasons that I'm not going to go into here, but I'll go into in another tutorial. But this is Act in the cloud, or what's referred to as Act Premium Cloud. Again, we have different icons up top. We have the menu up top. And if you compare the two of them, you'll see there's some subtle differences. But there are pros to the web version. For one, there's no software to install. You don't have any issues with any configuration. It's immediate. You can get your data in the cloud and be working within an hour. It's very easy to work with and add users. So I like the cloud. The cloud version of Act, in my opinion, comes down to a couple things. One, if it's going to work for you and you have experience using Act in the past, it's going to be different because working in a web browser is simply different. Having said that, most of the things that are different about it you can learn and get used to. The next thing is the internet speed. If you have a slow internet speed, you are not going to have as good an experience as someone with a very high internet speed. But there's ways to work with that. Just so you know, let's say you want to have both. You want to have the cloud version and you want to have the desktop version. Well, you can actually do that. And you can keep your data synchronized between the two. So Act Premium Cloud and the desktop, there's a lot of fundamentals that are the same. It's just how you get to Act, whether you do it on the desktop or through a web browser. Let me show you a little thing I like about the web browser. Let's say at the end of the day your eyes are a little tired. Well, on my keyboard I have a control key, and if I do control and hold that down and then press the plus sign on my keyboard, I'm making my whole screen bigger. Now, just to clarify, this has nothing to do with Act. This is a web browser trick. So Control plus makes the screen bigger, it sort of zooms it in. Control minus makes things smaller. To get back to square one where we started, I'm going to do Control and then 0. And again, just to clarify, this has nothing to do with Act. This is a web browser trick. The F11 key takes away the top part. If I press it, it will bring it back. If I press it again, it will take it away. If I take my pointer up on the screen, it will bring it back. So all it does is it gives you the opportunity to work with the amount of real estate you have based on the type of monitor, how big that monitor is. So because I have more green space right here, I can add things or fields to Act to get them to work the way I want them to work. So there are some definite advantages to the web version. I've been using the web version exclusively for about 2.5 years now, almost 2.5 years, and I love it. And I think any weaknesses it might have, there's so many good things about it that it's really a good experience, and especially for my sons, because now we don't have to concern ourselves with working in a web-based desktop piece of software. They can log in from anywhere. Few of my sons use Macs. One of my sons used primarily a PC. Regardless of which one you use, you can get in. Having stated that, Act is designed to work with other software. In this case, Microsoft Office. And there are some reasons why a Windows PC will work better than a Mac because of some of the ways you can use it with other software, such as Microsoft Outlook. So I just want to introduce you to the fact that although the first video was about the desktop software and I was working in the desktop, this is the cloud and you have options, you have choices. I think if it were me and I was a younger person as my sons are, I'd want the cloud option, and that's why I recommend this for them. I'll jump back and forth doing these tutorials to show you a little bit of both. You'll start to recognize when I'm in one versus the other. And some of the fine details and the way you set things up, the preferences, the things you can do behind the scenes to make this the experience you want with Act CRM. This is something that with a little bit of help, you'll learn how to do these things. Thank you everyone for listening to me and watching this tutorial. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you.